Hello everyone, welcome back to Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. I finally have my new gaming computer up and running completely. I've had it for about a week now, but I had a work event for 3 days and some other things that kept me busy and prevented me from recording. Plus of course, getting all the software set up on the new computer. But we're back here on Hawke's Bay, New Zealand now, and things might look a little bit different. Um, because I found out that I wasn't actually using the most recent version of the map. That is a downside to not using a map off of the official mod hub. The site where I got the map only had version 1.4, but the version I'm on now is version 2.0.1. So there are some slight differences to the map. My yard is pretty much the same. But there are some more buildings and stuff, and some other things have moved a little bit. However, this does give me a chance to show everyone something that I had skipped over because I had already done it before I started recording, and that is that all of the animals, at least all the pens here that are placed by default in the main farm, have this trigger, including the chickens. Now, normally in the base game and most of the mods for chickens, you do not have to provide them with water. This mod you do. So we walk up to the trigger here and hit the button. This lets us actually install a pipeline. This is using the animal extension mod in the background, but rather than showing up there not configured but the pieces are there, it's actually showing you a trigger instead, and you have to pay for it and allow time for it to be built, which I think is a really, really awesome innovation. So we're going to say to go ahead and do that. And you can see it says the local plumber will arrive at 6 o'clock, which is tomorrow morning, to install your new Farming Innovations fill system. Installation will be completed in 10 hours. So it's going to take basically most of 2 days for it to happen. So we've gone ahead there and done the chickens. I'm going to run around to the side of the cow pen now and do the same thing with the trigger there. Now this was really nice when I did this in the previous game, because you can see all the plumbing, and it's not just a generic pipe coming up out of the ground and another pipe with a handle on it, and then another pipe coming out with the actual spout. This is more plumbing than that, and I really like it. I'm gonna just continue to do this for all of the animals, and one of the other things you'll notice is that even though I'm on day 3, fields look a little bit different, and I've lost all the missions that I was in progress on. Now, the reason for that is that when I updated, it's technically an update where you're supposed to start a new game. Now, I know how to port most of my data from my old save. I could have even ported the field status, but due to some of the changes that he made, I chose not to do that. Because it would have been just painful and potentially caused problems. So uh, our own fields are reset using the easy development tools to what they should be, but I didn't bother with all of the um, AI fields. I'll just let the AI take care of putting in whatever there. It doesn't need to exactly match what we had before. Um, but I'm quite happy with the update. I'm glad that I found it, and I look forward to bringing you guys some more exciting gameplay on this map. I will also, between this recording and the next, be finally getting started on the auto-drive network for it, which will allow us to make a bit better use of AI helpers by having them take care of certain things for us. Uh, Additionally, I will be publishing that auto-drive network along with all the other ones that are currently available on my GitHub repo, which I will link in the description below. Some news on that is that recently I've had several other people donate their auto-drive networks, um, and you can see that in the credits if you visit my repo. Speaking of AutoDrive, because I got a shout out from him on his stream this past Wednesday regarding my GitHub repository of AutoDrive networks. Today's shout out is going to go to the Farm Sim guy. He was a pretty big inspiration to me starting this YouTube channel, and I really enjoy watching what he does. My favorite series right now that he's doing is his Bull's Gap survival series, but in general, I like most of what he does. I was actually kind of sad when some of his series left off, like his small equipment series that he was doing on Farmersburg, Iowa, for example. I really enjoyed that one. But I kind of understand why he did it. He has a lot of different maps going all at the same time right now. And like all of us, his time has a lot of demands on it. So, more power to him. And he's got a great channel, so go ahead and check it out. I will link that in the description below as well. Now, one thing I do want to check that I have not so far with this update is whether or not that silly collision was fixed here at the intersection where the text was floating up off of the road and would lift your tractor up. So let's have a look, see if that was fixed in the interim. Sadly, no. You can see that the giveaway is still floating a little bit. Now, I might have to take some time and learn how to use Giants Editor at least enough to move that down level with the roadway surface. So you can see that the AI is going to have a lot of work to do to clean up thanks to my changes here. I kind of wish also with the way that this path ends that this was like a ford in the river right here. But it's just a little too deep. But we can go for a swim. Be really, really cool if FS22 has the ability to go fishing added in, because that would just be a neat, I don't know, a neat little side game you could call it, a time sink while you are waiting for things to happen on the farm if you don't want to do things like logging or other time fillers. I don't have a whole lot of time that I need to fill usually, but it depends on how many days I set my season length to. This series I'm playing on 9-day seasons, but some series I will do 12-day seasons. It just depends on what I want to accomplish on that map and how much time in a single season I will need to accomplish those things. The more fields and or bigger fields that you have, the more time it takes to do stuff. So that's how I get around that, is by tweaking the season length a little bit. So this area here looks pretty much the same. This is a nice placeable lot. I don't think it had a fence before, but I don't remember for sure whether it did or not. Speaking of fishing, let's jump in the boat and go. One thing that I did notice is that over by the shop, in fact, we're going to just jump in the Land Rover and take a little drive over there. Because I'm pretty sure, based on looking at the map, that the placeable area that was by the shop is no longer a placeable area. It actually has something in it now. So here we go. Let's jump in the Land Rover and go for a little drive. And another thing that I'll be changing is I'll be doing a lot more in-cab to practice for the survival roleplay series that I am working on and hoping to start recording in November at the very latest. I'd like to get to it much sooner, but it just depends on how many demands there are on my time, especially since wrong side of the road here. Especially since I and potentially starting a multiplayer series with someone to put on our YouTube channels. We haven't finalized anything yet, so I'm not going to announce any more details than that. All right, so that is still there. Maybe this building is new because I don't remember that being there before. I think that's what it is, actually. I think this building is new. But I could be mistaken. Looks like this is the animal dealer. Interesting. I would have thought that the animal dealer was present on the map before, but perhaps it was in a different spot. Or perhaps my memory is betraying me and I should have gone back and looked at the previous version of the map first. But that's quite alright. So another little tidbit that should be discussed is that I have sent Mr. Sealy P a subscriber contract. He's currently started a new subscriber contract series, and I have sent him a letter in the name of my character of Hank Whipple, explaining the mistake that Hank has done with the animals and their feed needs. And asking for Mr. Sealy P's help to send us some feed, either in trade for something he might need, or with payment at fair market value. So we'll see if he accepts the contract. It kind of sounds like he might, because he did make a generalized mention of it in his very first episode. And I really hope he does, because I kind of like the storyline aspect of that, of course. Despite this not being a role play as such, just a very generalized story-driven Let's Play. Another change is that these gates are now automatic, so I don't have to open them up manually anymore. And that's pretty much it for the updates. So for now, I'm going to get some work done off screen, and I'll bring you back when there's something more to show, probably sometime in the summer. All right, it isn't summer yet, but I wanted to bring you guys back and fill you in some things that have been going on so that I didn't forget everything by spending too long away. I've just been giving the cattle and horses some straw because they were running low. You can see there that the Stockman mod says that the productivity of my cows could be better. That is because I am now completely out of total mixed ration. So we'll be having that message pop up for quite a while now until I can do something about that. However, I did want to show you the wonderful plumbing that was installed that we paid for. That's the one for the horses. That one's pretty basic. It's pretty much just the standard piping that comes with the animal pen extension, but it was all automated. I didn't have to move it, put it in. You saw what I did earlier. I simply accepted the fees to install it, and in it went. However, here at the cattle barn, you can see there's the spout, standard. But over here, while we have the standard valve assembly, we've also got this blue pipe going up the wall and into the actual building. Now, I have not been inside to see if there's any further piping inside, so we're going to do that together, just out of curiosity and, you know, in the name of science. So yes, it actually joins in with this giant water tank in here. That is awesome. Now, the thought process that I have with this is that this single pipe feeds all of the valves. It splits underground and feeds all of the valves. So they're all being fed from that single cistern, is what I guess we'll call it. That single water storage tank. It's not a true cistern, I guess, but close enough of a term for me. Um, and as we head over here to put the leftover straw, which I had to buy, I bought a few bales of straw, but we'll be putting the leftovers in our silo here. And you can see the one for the chickens. The valve's there, and if you look in the distance over there, there are actually 2 spouts on their water trough. So let's go ahead and dump our leftover straw here. And then I'll go over the rest of the changes with you. You'll notice the money's gone up quite a bit. There are actually 2 reasons for that. First reason is that I sold the Allis Chalmers. Now, that might surprise some people, especially since in the distance off on the right there, you can see what looks like our Allis Chalmers. Yes and no. It is a different Allis Chalmers, different model and everything. And that one I picked up used through the Classifieds mod by Maddie Fi. If you're interested in that mod, there will be a link to her Discord in the description of the video. I can show it to you guys here. Oops. I'm sorry, I can't at the moment. I will, after the next cut, I will show it to you. I have it disabled at this point in time because I was messing around with some of the mods. But anyway, I picked this up used for about half the price that I sold the other one for. And this one, significantly quieter. I have not tweaked the volume at all in the game compared to what it was earlier. So this is quite an improvement. It's just as nice of a mod in my opinion, other than your broken wrists there on your character, but unfortunately a lot of mods do that. This one also has the benefit of a 3-point hitch. The previous Allis Chalmers did not have one. It just had a simple pin hitch to it. So we've got this nice new tractor, and I've been doing some work with it. That's the other reason that the money is up. I have cultivated some fields as contracts. I had to lease a cultivator to do it, but the payouts on the contracts made it worth it. But now we are going to look back up to our equipment that we left out when I took the other Allis Chalmers off to the dealership to sell it. And we're going to pull it over here and get it washed, which that's for you, Maddie. Since I'm talking about your Classifieds mod, and I know how much you hate dirty equipment. Here you go. I'm washing my tractor and my implement. So we'll get this all nice and clean, and go over a couple of other things while I'm thinking about it. The letter that I mentioned earlier that I sent off to Mr. Steely P for his subscriber contracts. As I mentioned, I really hope that he picks it as one to do. And I hope that if he does, what we get from him is total mixed ration. But I basically said that we need anything that he can spare in order to feed our cattle, horses, and sheep. The chickens are pretty well covered. We have both wheat and barley in storage, so I don't really need feed for them. I did offer a few different things in trade for that service, including some of the animals. I said I'd be willing to trade some of the animals off in order to be able to feed the rest. But I also offered any other crops that we might have, or to pay for it. Obviously, I think I mentioned that earlier. I also offered manure, which is something that he needs per his most recent episodes. So Um, we don't have a whole lot of manure at the moment, but it is building up, and by the time he gets to our contract, if he does do it, I figure that we'll have quite a bit more. So for now, I'm gonna park the Allis up, and we'll go from there. And I will see you guys again when I bring you back the next time. So there's been some more changes. As you can see, it is now summer, and there's also some more new equipment on the farm. Actually, I better not park this up. Maddie will yell at me if she sees how dirty this thing's gotten, just from feeding the animals, but hey, she's got some OCD about keeping these tractors clean, even when they're not hers. So we'll go ahead and give it a good wash. And while we're washing it, I can talk about the stuff you see there in the background. There's a Massey Ferguson 240 and an 82 Studios trailer with with the remaining items that I had been leaving at the shop, picked up and brought back to the yard here. Both of those were sale items in the classifieds, so they're used equipment that I picked up by browsing through the classifieds between doing jobs. And I don't really have a specific job for the Massey yet, but I love Massey Ferguson tractors, and the darn thing was so cheap that I couldn't not get it. The trailer is a great replacement for the Land Rover trailer that we had to start the series that ended up having issues with it and was a little on the small side anyway. Because it's the dovetail model that I grabbed, and it also allows us to transport equipment should we need to do so. So let's go park this guy up. We have had some other changes as well. I had a couple of chickens die of old age, which I've never seen before. I've seen them die from lack of food or water, but I've never seen them die from old age. Uh, Potentially, I never let them get old enough before selling them, because I do breed and sell my chickens. I don't just keep them for the eggs. But yeah, that was a new one for me. So we're down a couple of chickens, but we've also got enough young ones running around that it shouldn't be an issue. They are breeding, so I think once I have a few more hens born, I will probably grab another rooster. This guy, busy, 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 but I don't think he can keep all these hens taken care of, so not by himself. Uh, so we also lost one sheep. That one was my mistake. I went to bed without making sure that they had enough food, and it died overnight from starvation, because they had no food, they had very low food and no water. So I gotta keep a better eye on that sort of thing. The manure, which is a potential trade to CLEP Farms for some food for our livestock, it's building up. Both the cattle and the horses produce manure, and it all goes into that one location. I'm not sure what we've got for slurry here. Let's see what it says if I jump in here. Looks like a little over 2,300 liters, so we're building that up nicely as well. I do not currently have a slurry tanker, and I'm not sure if our local BGA, which you can see right across the road there, takes slurry or not. If it does, I would rather sell the slurry and then get the digestate byproduct out of the BGA and use that to spread on the fields for fertilizer. So another change that I may or may not have mentioned, Previously, you might have seen it though, is that when I loaded up the new map, the repair shop here, little workshop, which came with the farmyard when I started on the previous version of the map, was no longer here on the new version. So I figured I better take care of that, and I placed it and reimbursed myself the money for it. And then I also placed the hose here for washing the tractors, which I did not reimburse myself for because that was actually a new purchase. We do still have this extra weight that we don't really need at this point in time, but I'm not going to get rid of it because I may need it in the future. So that's all for the updates. Now that we are here in summer, we're going to look at some more contracts. Another thing I wish I could do is put a front attacher on this, but unfortunately we can't. Not even with the couple of mods that allow you to put a front 3-point on, because they both require at least a pin hitch to be here to attach that to on the front of your tractor. I could, strangely enough, put one on the front of the new Massey here. Despite its very small size, it's currently got weights on it, but if I took the weights off but left the weight bracket on, the weight bracket has a pin hitch built into it, and we could attach a front 3-point link to that with one of those mods, but that's not very realistic and it's pretty much unnecessary, so I'm not going to do it. The big benefit with this tractor would be additional weight. I could put additional weight on the front, so it would be nice if it had either a weight bracket or the ability to have a weight, such as our extra one over there, picked up on a 3-point. But that's all right. She'll do anyway. What I didn't mention earlier when I talked about trading the other Allis Chalmers for this one is that, well, this one's actually higher horsepower. This is a 305 horsepower 4-wheel drive tractor, hence the 4W305 there. The other model that I had was only a 302 horsepower, so we gained 3 horsepower in addition to quite a bit of money. Anyway, that'll conclude everything for this episode, and we will see you guys back for the next one.